I want to welcome everybody to another episode of the Shadows Podcast. I'm your host, Trip Bodenheimer, and I'm excited today to have, let me try it, Cristian Plascencia. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Or you just telling me that just to make it happen?
No, that was great right there. That was perfect.
So we've been trying to set this up. It seems like forever, but there's been like Disney trips, sick pets, all sorts of stuff has come up. But I'm excited to make this happen because congratulations, by the way. I saw you got engaged.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I did. Thank you very much for that, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, previous guests that we had on here, Natalie Higby, one of our earlier episodes, and that's awesome. And by the way, y'all on Instagram, y'all are like the fanciest dressed people outside of the gym.
We try to, man. We spend a lot of time in yoga pants and shorts, so we better be able to have some type of clothes in our wardrobe that we can wear out like normal people.
Y'all look good in the fancies. Y'all are looking really sharp in those.
Thank you, Chip.
But yeah, and before we get started, what about this ice bucket that y'all do? This what is it called? What's the proper name of it?
The ice barrel specifically.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
How is that?
Yeah. So that's awesome, man. We were lucky enough where they actually reached out to us on social media. I think they just saw that, what our brand stands for, and like just the type of lifestyle habits that we have are centered around just like taking care of like our health and our longevity of like our life. And so we obviously have a sauna in the garage, kind of part of like our home gym, and to kind of like complement like the heat, training or like the heat overdose, we wanted to have some type of similar stimulus for like the cold therapy. So we have this thing called the ice barrel, barrel. That's what the company and the brand and the actual product is called. And so it's really as simple as filling it up with some water, then throwing as much ice as you can handle and just trying to sit in the ice for, I wouldn't say as long as humanly possible, but 5 minutes wouldn't hurt you. It's definitely not easy, but it's a mental challenge nonetheless. And I'm sure you will feel amazing one way or another. You will eventually feel amazing getting out.
Yeah, I feel really good getting out. Yeah, I thought y'all even put the lid on it and like close yourselves in there.
Yeah, we were just messing around and just putting the lid on and kind of messing with each other, but I would probably not recommend that. And I'm sure Ice Barrel would probably not recommend, nor do they probably want to repost us kind of closing each other in and pretending like we're going to leave each other in there.
Yeah, it looked legit though. And I know that's like a good way of post-workout therapy and stuff. So that was awesome seeing that. And before we get started, and you are co-founder of Durable Athlete, but before we get going, I'm going to put you through the 5 rounds presented by our sponsor, Giant Worldwide. Head over to giant.tv/shadows and become a certified leadership coach. And first question, guilty pleasure for you?
Guilty pleasure is definitely food, like, and not just your salads, not just your healthy food. I'm talking pizza, tacos, hamburgers. I mean, that's my absolute favorite.
What's your go-to? Like, you get that cheat day, you're just gonna eat nasty. What is that first go-to food you got?
Definitely a pizza. Definitely pizza. Yeah. There's a spot out here where they make like Chicago deep dish style pizza, and they put an excessive amount of butter on that bread, I'm pretty sure.
Nice.
And that is amazing. It's amazing.
Calorie intake for the month right there.
Yeah, seriously, it really is.
Okay. Greatest basketball player of all time. You're a basketball guy.
Yeah, that's.
I think I know where your answer is going, but
yeah, Kobe Bryant for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been like my idol since I was a kid. I remember even like in middle school, they tell you to like write a book report or write a paper on, your idol or, someone you look up to or whatever. It was always like Kobe Bryant.
What was it about Kobe outside of, former Tar Heel, Michael Jordan?
Yeah. I think, one, I'm a 90s baby, so I was born in 92. So for me, Jordan, I didn't really get to, I wasn't just a mind state to really get to see Jordan at his prime, right? Because I think maybe at the age of like 7 to 8 is maybe when I started to actually like comprehend things and kind of have a vivid memory of like watching basketball and having pleasure in that. But I think is, beyond just my dad being from LA, being a Laker fan, and then obviously us being Laker fans, like he was just a winner. And I think that just watching him on the court there was a level of like separation between like him and anybody else kind of playing at that time, right? I think there was still great players, but he just always stood out to be like relentless. And then obviously, you know, as I got a little bit older, I would hear the stories about how hard he worked, and that just kind of was like the icing on the cake, I guess.
So just a little spoiler for you. I'm an MJ guy.
MJ guy. Hey, I'm not mad at it, man. I can appreciate it now finally at this age. When I was younger, I think I held a lot
probably
of
with the Warriors.
Kids. I'm sorry.
He was probably with the Warriors when you were growing up.
You talking about
Jordan?
Jordan? He was with the Wizards.
The Wizards,
right? The Washington. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
Probably thinking California. Yeah, that makes sense.
I actually went to a Hornet. I had like a mini season ticket package for the Hornets their final year in Charlotte, and they were playing the Wizards.
Oh wow!
And I got those tickets, and I was like, I'm gonna watch MJ play.
Yeah.
He didn't even sit on the sidelines. He did not play, and I was so irked. I'm sitting at a Hornets. Best player on the court is Baron Davis. And
yeah, I get you. That's funny. That's
all right, awesome. Next one for you. Book recommendation for our listeners.
That's a great question. I would say probably The Oxygen Advantage. That's a solid book. I think even, you know, I could probably name off a bunch of different fitness books, but I think some of that stuff is almost like deep down the rabbit hole where we kind of take a little bit more perspective to like really gain that full knowledge. Where I think with Oxygen Advantage, I think, you know, every single one of us is breathing on a daily basis, and the kind of call to action tools and techniques that they provide is something that like an everyday person can implement right away and hopefully see the value in it.
Yeah. Breathing techniques is a big thing right now.
100%. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I will have that book listed on our website under book recommendations. You got 2 tickets. In fact, you and Natalie, I'm giving y'all 2 sets of tickets. One set, y'all can go somewhere, a return trip to somewhere that you've been before. The other set, somewhere y'all have never been, but top of your bucket list. Where do you use both of those sets?
To return, I think to return probably to, gosh, what is it called? It's definitely not in Los Angeles. It's Southern California. It's not San Diego yet, but it's like right on the coast. My buddy,
La Jolla?
So I'm talking even more so, even closer to LA. Gosh darn it, why can't I think about it? It's not gosh darn it, it's gonna kill me. It's gonna come to me at some point. So I'm thinking like Manhattan Beach area, but even further south on the 1 freeway. So right on the coast. Gosh darn it.
So that's good because we'll keep our listeners in this. So when it comes to you, just shout it out. So
yes, when it comes to me, I'll shout that one.
You'll have to listen to the rest of the episode to hear it.
Exactly. And it was a beautiful area. My buddies are like pro-am surfers that I went to school with, and so they had like a house with like 6 of them, like literally right on the coast, right on the 1. And so we stayed with them for like one night, and it was beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. Water was warm. Walk out, so many feet, and you can still kind of see the sun or the sand at the bottom of the ocean. It was beautiful. So that's why I would maybe say like return, and then to go somewhere new. I would say Iceland. We've been thinking about trying to go to Iceland for like our honeymoon, but that's on your bucket list too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've never been before, but I would absolutely love to head out there.
Yeah, we wanted to go there when we were stationed in Germany, and it was one of like the 3 countries we did not get to go to. But
oh wow,
the Blue Lagoon and everything out there, it looks so nice.
Yes. There's a resort, I believe, or like a hotel that's like connected to the Blue Lagoon, or maybe in a piece of the Blue Lagoon. And yeah, I mean that would be awesome. Somehow, some way, be able to stay there. Yeah,
that's a good answer. And then we got our last question. Part of the 5 rounds. Least favorite body part to work out. We all have one.
My least favorite body part, I would honestly say arms. And I know that'd probably be a lot of people's favorite. Yeah, I don't really spend too much time like focusing specifically like on my arms. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm doing, upper body push and upper body pull. And obviously your arms are working to some capacity when you're doing that. But yeah, it's just never really been a big thing for me. I don't know why. I think it was in high school. when it was just, get in the gym and lift as much as you can. But as more time, yeah, exactly. You want to feel like, the cup
large shirt with the medium sleeves.
Exactly. That's what you want. So, but yeah, ever since I got out of college, and obviously with a different perspective on like fitness and working out and health, like I've kind of put that stuff to the side as I don't want to say meaningless, because I know some people love that. And if it's your thing, by all means, go ahead if it keeps you active. But me personally, it's something that I'm like, I don't get up for that too often.
This interview's going really good. You're a Kobe guy. I'm an MJ guy. You don't like arms. I do like arms. That's going to conclude this episode, folks.
Yeah. Well, that's all you need to know.
Exactly. Well, now we're going to actually start to jump into your journey. So, and I encourage all of our listeners to go out there, listen to Natalie's episode, and then check this episode out as well. And Cristian, talk to us about like your upbringings, like growing up. Where'd you grow up? What'd your parents do? What were some of your aspirations as a child?
Yeah, definitely. So I grew up in California, in Central California, in a city called Salinas, near like Monterey, Santa Cruz area. Mm-hmm. Went to high school out there, graduated from high school. Obviously basketball was, a huge aspiration, a huge love of mine. I think like at the age of 10 is like when I first started to play. Up until that point, it was really like all baseball and soccer. At that age of 10, really maybe like a couple years after is when I really started to realize that like, basketball was more than just, my favorite sport. It was something that I really wanted to try to excel in, and something that, I even wanted to try to, become like a professional basketball player. I remember all the way up until, let's just say 12 years old, until I was about 17, in my senior year. I thought, by far, like my goal and my, objective was to basically make it to the NBA. And obviously first was to make it to like a Division I basketball team. And, being like 5'8" and, 190, 195.
You're probably a point or a two guard, right?
Yeah, exactly. I was a point. I was a very, especially to today's standards, like an undersized point guard and an undersized shooting guard. But honestly, like, excuse me, that was never part of my thought process. It was never like, I'm not big enough, I'm not tall enough, or, I'm not quick enough or whatever. I remember Steve Nash was playing in the NBA at that time. And the skill trainer that I had, who was an amazing skill trainer, I remember him telling me that, hey, if you can kind of see a guy like Steve Nash, who's not athletic, which I'm sure he's still very athletic compared to, the everyday person. But, some guy like him that's not athletic, he can't jump very high, he can't run very fast, but, his shot and his form is, second to none. And, his shooting percentage is out of this world, and his leadership is out of this world, and his ability to get everyone involved is like, second to none again. Then you can do it, right? Like if he can do it, you can do it. And I remember really thinking about that. And, from that, again, age group from 12 to 17, like I was constantly in the gym. And I can say like, without a doubt, so confidently that, there was nobody that I ever played with on, travel teams, high school teams, middle school teams, whatever. There was nobody that spent more time in the gym than me. And, I'm a pretty, humble person. I try not to, brag or compare myself to too many people, but looking back on it as a coach now who works with a lot of basketball players, I feel very confident kind of letting kids know sometimes that, you could be the most amazing athlete in the world or have the most amazing God-given talent. But, if your work ethic is subpar, then you're really never going to get to, your full potential. You're never really going to get to like the top of the mountain where you can see what you can achieve, with athleticism, hard work, and everything in between, all the intangibles. So, I just worked my tail off. And then I think it got to about my senior year. I want to say towards like the tail end of basketball season. I still love the game, but for me, it was like, man, there was something like a shift that was happening in my heart or in my brain where I was like, I don't know if basketball is actually it for me anymore. Like, I don't know if like basketball is necessary, like becoming a professional player is like something I want to do. Like, I think the thoughts of like helping people and like affecting the world and like trying to improve the world, like more of those ideas and thoughts were starting to come into my head. And so I think I realized like, man, I'm more than just a basketball player. Like I'm more than just someone who steps on a court laces him up, and then goes home and gets off his feet and then does the same thing every day. Like there's got to be more to life than that. And so that is, probably what, at the age of like 15, about the age of like 14, I think, actually, about 14, because I think it was like right at the beginning of high school. I injured myself for the first time, and my mom actually sprained ankle, exactly. And my mom made me basically start interning at a physical therapy office. And so from that time all the way through the end of my high school career, like I was doing that in the background. But then when I started to kind of have those shifts of mindset, that's when it started to become apparent that, okay, I think if I want to still be around the game, like this is how I can still be around the game. Like maybe I'll just be a physical therapist for athletes. And so kind of fast forwarding, got into, a university and a school in closer to Southern California, maybe even a little bit closer to Santa Barbara. If there's any people from LA listening thinking that, Camarillo and Thousand Oaks isn't necessarily Southern California or Los Angeles. But yeah, I got into school out there, and then same thing, freshman, sophomore year, continued to intern with physical therapists that were out there. Unfortunately, the school I was at for my first 4 year didn't have kinesiology like they thought they were by my junior year. They just thought it was going to happen. And for some reason, the budget cuts happened. And that was one of the disciplines that they had to cut out. So
was that Lutheran, California Lutheran?
So I was at Cal State Channel Islands, and then I ended up transferring to Cal Lutheran University, which did have the kinesiology, exercise science stuff. And so once I got into school there for my last 2 years, after like the first year, which is amazing, I started to take all the classes that I cared about and all the classes that like I wanted to learn about, which is like the human body. It then gave me some perspective because I was given a grant to run a research project for like that summer between my junior and my senior year. And at that time, there was no Theragun, there was no, Hypervolt and all that. So it was actually running research with like a whole body vibration plate and seeing how like whole body vibration could potentially provide some like what we call like post-activation potentiation effects, which is basically just a very fancy way to say, if you jumped with 10 pounds or 30 pounds on your back, put the 30 pounds on the ground and then try to jump body weight, you're probably going to feel like you could jump, a little bit higher than your normal baseline. And that's all it was. Can I stand on this vibration plate, several different times throughout this month and then perform jumps before and after, and see if like this made an effect whatsoever compared to like a loaded barbell jump or like, I think we did like one other movement that we kind of compared it to. So it was really cool. Like I never knew what a research project was. I didn't even know what, research in that field was at that time. So I think that lasted all summer, just running and getting the results. But then it really lasted almost all throughout my entire collegiate career, because then there's finding the results, and then there's like digging deeper, then there's like presenting at conferences, and then, numerous different conferences that you can kind of bring that to. So while all that was going on, I was also interning in the strength and conditioning room as well for a year with the volleyball and football, I believe. Yeah, volleyball and football for a while. And then I also started to like assist at, basically a private training facility that did mobile training for a really big soccer travel team, like a really, really well-known soccer team in the Southern California area. And then I was also training people in my garage. So I was doing, lots of things on top of going to school, and then on top of working full time at Chipotle. I worked at Chipotle for like maybe a year. They actually tried to give me, I joke about it to this day, but I'm dead serious. They tried to give me a salary job for like 6 figures, a free Prius, because obviously it kind of comes with the job. You'd have to drive around a little bit to be like what they would call like a restaurateur, which is basically just like a higher level manager that had to manage managers and employees at several different facilities.
It's almost like a regional manager of sorts.
Exactly. They just gave it a cool name and make it sound like you're really cool. And
I didn't realize Chipotle goes like that.
Oh, Chipotle, honestly, I loved working at Chipotle, to be honest. Other than just, free rice and chicken and steak and, all the protein and carbs you could, imagine while you're working there on a full day. I felt like the quality that they had and the integrity that they had working there actually like resonated with like my ethos and how I like to just live my life. Like
Yeah.
very, very particular on, hey, the chicken comes, in raw. We got to marinate it here. I can't let it touch that. If it touch that, throw it away. Like their standards were very high.
Discipline, yeah, standards.
I love that. I liked having that routine. It kind of kept me in check, kind of like Natalie, right? Like if, Natalie wasn't here, first off, I don't know if I'd be in this house, but second off, it probably wouldn't be this clean. So I like people that can kind of help me like keep myself in check and kind of keep a certain level of standard. So yeah, I guess to try to fast forward towards the end of college, I'm getting ready to leave college. I'm kind of in this space where, okay, I applied to PT schools for physical therapy. I've applied to a couple schools for exercise physiology. And I didn't get into any PT schools, which at that time was a big bummer for me because, I spent
a little setback,
a couple thousand hours. Yeah, exactly. A setback at that, what felt like a setback at that time, but actually was kind of just like a lateral step, right? Which I think, a lot of us can kind of like really empathize with, I guess, is sometimes at the moment it feels like it's a letdown, but it actually kind of worked out for like the greater meaning and the greater being.
The universe's rejection is the universe's protection.
Exactly. I like that. I've never heard that before. The universities, where would you say not university? You said the universe's.
The universe's rejection is the universe's protection. It's setting you up for something else.
I love that. And it couldn't be, that situation couldn't be, any more true than that. Mm-hmm. So went to end up going and getting into UT for exercise physiology for grad school and East Tennessee State, which is like in Johnsonville City in Tennessee. And so it was kind of like a toss up at that time, but to be honest, once I visited Austin, it was a no brainer. I was like, okay, I think Austin's got a lot going on. In East Tennessee, I probably would have been able to work with like the basketball team in some capacity at some point. Probably more like on the research side and maybe could have eventually got in like on the performance side. But to me, I was like, you know what, Austin is a great city. I don't really know anybody in both of these cities and both these universities, but in Austin, there was a gentleman who was working at Onnit, which was a private gym located here in Austin. And he actually was from Salinas. He was actually great friends with my mom. He actually left Salinas in a gym that he owned that my mom was going to for years and years. He left that gym to then become like the chief fitness officer, which I know is a very interesting title, but a chief fitness officer for Onnit. And so my mom actually bought that gym.
I've heard every version of CFOs, CEOs on Instagram or LinkedIn. So.
I used to just say CFO. Then once I started to realize that, no, that's usually turned to chief finance officer. I was like, oh no, he's not finance. He's a fitness guy. So he left the gig. My mom bought the gym. And so I guess to kind of retract just a little bit, in that 3 to 4 month period, right after graduating college and then actually leaving to go to grad school, I was in Salinas learning from a lot of those trainers that had learned under that chief fitness officer in Austin. Now, it was like his gym, but he had kind of taught them their ways, their methods. And so I was now learning from them kind of like this basis of what I preach today, which is like, the importance of movement fluency and the importance of movement competency, and really just like the holistic approach to not just movement, but like fitness and health in general. And so fast forward from there, that I got into UT, and then that gentleman that was working here at Onnit was like, hey, if you're going to come down here to Austin, why don't you just go ahead and like work as a part-time trainer for us here as well? So that's kind of what was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. I should just go to Austin. I got a part-time job and I can go to college. Yeah. Let's do the thing. So went to college at UT in my master's. I think within like the first month, I ended up dropping out because at the space that I was working as a trainer, all these opportunities began to kind of just pile in, like becoming part of like their education team, which was huge for me in being able to kind of like understand the principles and really like understand things from a global perspective rather than just like rep sets and like how to program, right? It was like this kind of higher level of understanding of like fitness and health in general. And so, and obviously a bunch of other things, like I want to work with athletes. Well, now athletes are asking me to work with them at a high level. It's like, well, I can't balance everything at once. And so put that on hold and just went full time into this training deal at Onnit. And I guess in that 5 years of working there, was able to like start like an in-house like durability team, which was like our kind of version of like a recovery class that would include like breath, movement, and like foam rolling and tennis ball, like
so underrated.
Super underrated. It's so underrated to the point where like you wouldn't think it would be a big deal or matter until you do it one time, and then you're like, holy crap, like, I don't know if I could do this.
Never focused on hip mobility because I'm like, I'm in my 30s. Why do I need to worry about that? And I started, and I'm being legit here. I started watching what you and Natalie were doing on Instagram. Yeah. I now have incorporated a lot of that into my workout recovery. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're exactly right. It's like you didn't realize you need this until you, because we think legit workout, post-workout, we think of protein or rest. But like legit, what you're talking about is so underrated.
100%. And again, like for me personally, why I think I really resonated with it so much was because forever before that, which I thought I was a fitness guy, and I've worked under the physical therapist, so I see this high level of stuff. Like, I bench X amount of times my body weight and power clean X amount of my body weight. So I'm a strong guy. Like, I remember the first session that I went through, and it wasn't necessarily like a recovery class, but it was a body weight, like boot camp style training class with like 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. I was getting my ass kicked, and I was like, I can outlift everybody here, and I'm stronger than everybody here. But like in this context, I'm the weakest one. Yeah. And so that's when it started to kind of like start, the ideas began to kind of just flow that like, whoa, like my world is being turned upside down, like strong. That's when I kind of learned that like strength is context dependent, right? Like saying I'm strong, you need some more behind that. Well, okay, so you're a strong guy squatting. Well, let me just have you do a couple of these body weight like variations of the squat, and let me just see how you feel. Mm-hmm. And so that is like what really opened my eyes to understanding that there are great strength coaches out there. There are amazing, personal trainers out there that have their ways and their methods, and those are not wrong. All those ways that you're doing it, as long as you're getting results, are right. But I was realizing that there is definitely a different approach to helping people feel better, move better, and really just continue to evolve like over years, to where when they're in their 60s and 70s, like, sure, you might not be moving the same way per se, but you want to be able to feel like to a certain extent you're limitless, right? Yeah. Up to a certain extent, of course. I don't know if you're 70, you still want to be back squatting 315 pounds for singles. Like,
probably not.
Maybe probably not, right? It's like what's the return on investment there? But like, if you wanted to get in the gym with a 20 or 30-year-old and take a F45 class, sure, you might not move as fast, but you could be able to hit the class and be able to walk the next day, or be able to walk out of the facility feeling like, okay, yeah, that kicked my ass, but like, exactly. Yeah. And so that is like, I think what led myself and Natalie so much to like building the durability team at Onnit, and then eventually kind of like stepping away from Onnit and then creating the durable athlete was, okay, we're going to have our roots, for lack of a better term, and just challenging people through movement quality and not always just movement quantity. The easiest thing to do is give you 100 reps of something, because it'll make you burn, and it'll make you sweat, and it'll make you feel like you got a really good workout. But if I can give you something that's like the movement skill is the most challenging aspect, and like the internal, like intrinsic tension and resistance that your body has through a lack of like full movement and range of motion, I want that tension and resistance to be the most challenging thing, rather than just like external resistance, like like a weight or a dumbbell or whatever. So again, that's not to say that those ways are right and wrong, because I'm still actively in a strength training program, and I like to kind of purchase online programs. It's just another layer. Yeah. And it's another like supplement to what you are already doing.
Yeah. And so much to unpack from what you said. First of all, like you're talking about going back to Chipotle and everything. I was just talking to someone on here the other day, and we were talking about the importance of, oftentimes first jobs get overlooked. and those jobs that you look at and you're like, we have something in common. We're in the food business. I was at Red Lobster, and I know my former listener will love this, but I was 2-time server of the year in Sumter County, and I was on track to be a general manager, and I opted to join the military. I was Jordan after the '98 final. I walked away. But yeah, then, you know, like your time at Texas, and you talk about like timing. It seems like in your journey, like the pieces were falling into place, even at the time if you didn't know it. Now looking back, you're like, this happened for a reason. And then you talked about continuously like learning from people and building up, and that's probably why y'all have such a phenomenal product. With Durable Athlete, is like you said, you were exposed to something new, and you're like, I never even thought about this before, and just kind of adding that extra layer to working out. And you know, talk to us about you've kind of hinted at a little bit, but the importance of post recovery, and what are some tips for our listeners who are probably, you know, they're getting into New Year's resolution, or they got new goals, but they're like, I really don't know what to do post workout other than chug down, you know, a protein shake and rest a little bit.
For sure. 100%. Well, I will say that, you know, the protein stuff is super important still, right? So like, that's the important part with all this stuff. And I try to be very mindful of it, is like, we don't want to say like, hey, what you've been doing is wrong, right? Because then, you know, then it kind of starts to, you know, devalue some of the stuff that people are listening to and
extra
doing.
Pointers. So,
just some extra pointers. So actually keep up with the protein, keep up with all that, because that is part of the recovery. But there's also like this level of understanding that like we got to be able to like decompress like our entire system, right? Like I think a lot of us think of working out and we think of muscle parts and, you know, upper body day, lower body day type stuff, right? And again, that's still true, but you know, beyond that or deeper than that is like our nervous system, right? Or what some people would call like our central nervous system. So like our brain, our spinal cord, and really like all the nerve units and all the neurological wiring that is like underneath us and kind of like helping our body to actually move and think on a daily basis. So without realizing it, most of us are, especially like even just in this instant, right? Like we are sympathetically driven. We are, you know, most often needing energy and attention and, you know, really just liveliness and yeah, for lack of a better word, just energy throughout our day to stay attentive, to continue to work and to continue to learn stuff and to digest stuff and then kind of put stuff back out there. So that's great. We need that. But what ends up happening for most of us is we just kind of stay like on this upward, like I need to be in what they call sympathetic or this fight or flight system. They just kind of stay in this mode all throughout their day. And in a workout, we want to be sympathetic, right? It allows us to hit our numbers. But after our workout, I don't want to just keep going up or kind of staying like in this sympathetic zone. Like I want to find pockets of windows. I want to find windows of time throughout my day where I can kind of go up and then kind of just like level out a little bit for, you know, 10, 20, 30 minutes. And then cool, let's say I have it's a double day, it's another workout. Cool, okay, you shoot back up, but find that time to actually like decompress and get into the opposite of sympathetic, which is our parasympathetic system, which is like our, you know, rest and kind of digest, right? What people would call our rest and digest. And so being able to kind of fluctuate between those two systems, you can do that in different types of ways. Stretching for a lot of people is beneficial for the physical stuff, right? 100%. Put your body in the end range of motion that we usually don't spend a lot of time in, and just allow fluids and blood to kind of exchange in that area, right? But in order for us to kind of do like some static stretching, we actually need our system, our central nervous system, to be able to like come down into parasympathetic, because when we're in sympathetic, we sometimes have like this protective tone in our body. And especially after working out, right? Like if you did chest day, if people were after chest day just to kind of go here or like go here, you'll feel that like protective tone in your body, just like holding on. You're like, gosh, I feel so tight. Well, by doing those stretches, you're not just like helping that physical area of your body, but if you're able to like use your breath, to use your nose, to like slow your breath down, or even just to like super simple, just be like conscious of how long you're inhaling and how long you're exhaling, like that in itself is going to bring your system more into parasympathetic. So by doing that, your system is usually going to tell your muscles and everything else in there for that tone to relax. So they kind of go like hand
goes back to
hand.
that oxygen.
Exactly.
And you don't have to go to GNC and buy oxygen. You get it. It's all about how you use
it. Exactly. 100%.
So tell us a little bit, you know, as we kind of wrap this episode up, tell us a little bit about Durable Athlete, where they can find you,
definitely.
what y'all do.
Definitely. So Durable Athlete is basically based on like our 4 health pillars, right? Our movement, nutrition, breath, and sleep. And you know, ultimately being able to kind of maximize effort and maximize our habits within those 4 pillars is ultimately going to give us the best chance to live a long, healthy life, right? God willing, a long, healthy life. So, you know, for example, let's just kind of break down like breath, right? We talk about breath as being huge for being able to kind of just mitigate daily stress. Someone cuts you off. Unfortunately, like with you, your dog, right? Your dog having to go to a medical emergency, like those are stressors being placed on our system. And if we worked out that day and then we, you know, took a little pre-workout to help us get up for that day, and then the dog stuff happened, and then, you know, you have to make a phone call to someone for one of your children because something, you know, bad happened. Like those are just up. They just kind of keep like stressing us out, and we don't even realize it until it's 16 hours later and we can't go to bed at night. Right. So if we can use our breath in certain pockets to kind of help us like come back to being present and come back to just like, you know, calming our body and our mind down, then that's going to be huge when we start talking about like being able to adapt in a positive manner. Right. And obviously just bring perspective to daily life, right? Like mindfulness and all that practice. And then obviously movement. A lot of us, they say, you know, that we don't move enough, right? Sitting is the new cancer. And so from a very general standpoint, it's like, we just got to be able to move enough, right? Even if it's walking outside, we don't need to hit, you know, F45 7 times a week, which is okay, I guess, if someone does, but like that, we don't need to get our movement just in working out. We should be able to kind of build some lifestyle habits that allow us to take daily walks and take, you know, more physical stuff like parking further away from the mall entrance or something like that. Diet and nutrition. Obviously, food is our fuel, right? Like without the food, without proper food, you know, then our fuel and how we perform mentally and physically is going to be compromised. If we give ourselves, you know, processed and junk food, then we can expect to be performing at a junk level. And obviously, you start talking about meeting, you know, gains or wanting to get to certain gains or getting to certain levels of physical fitness. If we're not eating enough or the right foods, then chances are we're probably just going to hit a plateau at some point and probably just end up overtraining ourselves. And then sleep. Sleep is king. Sleep is like number 1 recovery tool. You know, if we're not sleeping enough at night and not getting good quality sleep, then we're already starting off every single day on the wrong end of the day. And we're in a bad mood. We have terrible energy. We got to down a bunch of coffee. We need a couple more monsters that day or whatever energy drink people might be, you know, intaking. And obviously all those has its negative effects as well. So for us, if we can help people really master and it's not even so much master, right? Because it's not like, hey, once you get to this point, you made it. It's just like
continuous.
It's continuous. Exactly. I'm sure Natalie probably really hit that on the head, that it's like, it's a lifestyle. It's not just like you got here, cool, you're done. It's like, eventually we'd like for people to be able to live their lives where, cool, go have a drink whenever you feel like you want to go have a drink. But if you know the other 95% of the time you're rooted in these habits, then you're going to give yourself a great exactly. That's it. That's what it's about. So that's kind of like the gist of kind of Durable Athlete and like what we stand for and like our why.
And where can they find y'all at?
Definitely. So durableathlete.com is our website. From there, you can kind of access and download our app. Our app has our entire library of everything mobility. So everything from, hey, I already got a lifting program, or I already got my routine, I already have my trainer, but we don't really do a lot of mobility, or haven't really heard a lot of or seen a lot around like breath work, or hey, I just want something to do like, you know, a yoga routine or a movement routine that's low level that I can do in my garage, I can do in my bedroom upon waking up. We got all that covered. We have everything from just very muscle and joint specific, follow along routines to, hey, this is our version of a yoga routine that incorporates a lot of like breath and tension and long ranges.
Yeah.
And then everything to, hey, I got squat day. What would I do before squat day? Cool. We have an entire section of stuff that we can kind of point people in that direction, along with a nutrition guide that Natalie has created and put on there to just kind of, again, bring a very basic level awareness of why food is important and how we can kind of go about making sure we are eating enough to actually fuel like our daily lifestyle.
Yeah, and I definitely recommend our listeners out there, especially the time this episode is dropping. Y'all have had new fitness goals for the year. We had New Year's resolutions, just getting into the gym, trying to get started with stuff. Can't encourage y'all enough. Head over to durableathlete.com, check them out. I mean, it's more like you said, just getting into the gym, throwing up some weights, and then getting in your car and taking off. It's a mindset. It's a reprogramming of your body, and that's part of fitness. Constant challenge, constant changing things up. So, regardless of your fitness level, definitely encourage everyone to go check them out. Well, Cristian, I can't thank you enough for taking time to do this. This is super cool that I've had you and Natalie both on here. Like I said, our listeners, go back, listen to her episode as well. Follow them on Instagram. Also, where can they follow you on Instagram at?
Yeah, so mine would just be my full name. So Cristian G. Plascencia. And then Natalie would just be Natalie. I think it's the same thing, like Natalie, I think Natalie.Higbee, I believe.
Find Cristian and you'll find Natalie.
Yeah, exactly. We tag each other enough to where, once you find one of us, you'll probably find both of us.
And you get some fashion sense from them too. So it's definitely a win. Go over and check them out. Well, final comments for our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. It's it being, like you said, this time of the year, early January. I think a lot of people are fast out the gate to, master their health, master their fitness goals. They're getting into a routine. Maybe they're hiring a personal trainer or nutritionist or whatever the heck it may be. Just know that at the end of the day, like, it is a marathon and not a race. And it's not all about being perfect with your diet, perfect with your fitness routine. There's going to be times where you just have to take off. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be things that happen. And so it's just very, very important, whether it's writing it down or, a notepad in your phone or just something you see every day, that like to root yourself in a certain lifestyle that you're trying to build, and not just a short-term routine that you're looking to fulfill. Right. I think that's super easy for people to, again, just, okay, I got 5 days this week. I got to go. And you're going to hit a point where you just don't feel like going anymore. Or, there's something that just comes up that's keeping you from going to that. And at the end of the day, like, if you're able to have a coach that can really understand the importance of just lifestyle and your lifestyle habits being more important than just your workout routine or your nutrition routine, that is going to be absolutely key for the long-term growth, and not just the 2022 growth of, your health and your ultimate, fitness lifestyle.
Well, this has been awesome. It's been worth all the 47 times we've tried to set this thing up. I'm thinking next year, like next January, I get like a durable athlete tag team like episode with you and Natalie on. I think that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be great.
Well, folks, that is going to conclude this episode of the Shadows Podcast.